Hi, welcome. In this video, I'm going to be working with Jax on a little issue he's had for a very long time over things on the ground. Pieces of paper, more specifically. Now this is where, again, I have the pressure collar on here now. I'm going to use it as a relational tool. It's not meant to, again, it's about understanding, staying ahead of the curve of his mind, so therefore, and this would be a good exercise to see how the tool is used. So I want a little sharper communication with him because this is a real big control issue that he's had over with pieces of paper. So, so what I'm going to be doing here, because I know that in the stores, when there's a piece of paper or something on the floor, right, he wants to invest. So here, as a service dog, that can't go down. You wouldn't want that going down anyway. So this is something that will work out. So you're going to see a problem-solving exercise here. So what I'm going to do is, as soon as he even looks towards a piece of paper, I'm going to assert, I'm going to nudge him out. I'm going to interrupt that state. Some people call it a correction. I call it, a moment, because it's relational, which means that I'm ahead of the curve of his mind. I know just as the mind separates, it's like stinking thinking. When the stinking thinking is already there, and so I'm going to be ahead of that to communicate with him to say, no, I own that piece of paper. It isn't going to happen. So I'm going to be walking around here again using the pressure collar. But then again, once this goes away, I can switch it back over to a flat collar again. But I use this for the control exercise. So there's paper all over the floor here already. Here's a bunch of my hand. So even here in my hand, watch this, put it down here, I'll start to exert some influence, right? And then so here I'm just going to throw it behind me. So now there's more paper on the floor. And so when I do this exercise, I'm just walking around, going to be interrupting that state, any investment in that paper. Like I said, lots of it's around here. I'm going to be downing him beside the paper. I'm going to be doing all sorts of things to kind of mess with him a little bit. But again, not meant to be an unfair way. So for example, knowing, because here's the thing, I've already worked with him on this just once already. But the thing is, about doing this type of thing, the dog has a lot of control issues here, because he's in process anyway, so this isn't going to trigger a high problem or high challenge state, a lot of control. So just be aware, if you're doing something like this, or something the dog has a lot of investment in, just be very intentional, don't overload the dog, it's like if a dog has problems chasing cars, well, you wouldn't take the dog down in the middle of a traffic jam and expect you aren't going to have some problems, You have to be reasonable about what you're doing. So, therefore, you want to do it in very, controlled exercise, Some distance, and slowly get towards that, whatever that thing is the dog has a lot of investment in, and then work the script, So here, again, I got lots of paper around everywhere. I already know that he can handle this, This is just more, for me, fine-tuning anyway. But again, just want to be fair about it. So as you're walking around, still going to use the pressure collar. But again, how you can tell when it's starting to release itself is the tension level comes off the dog. You can see almost like they're like, I don't want to look, but I really want to. It's almost like they're in a little bit of a conflict, almost like, when that starts to edge off, where it's okay, start calming down. Dale owns the paper, no big deal. And so the relaxation, is going to happen. You're not investing, so you have to work through it that way, but the dog will give you signs that they're letting that state of mind go. They're starting to release control of that, because that becomes a problem because they grab it, it makes the owner feel a certain way. It creates a relational mess. So it's about I'm in control of everything. This little paper exercise is a great exercise to do because, again, as a service dog or as any dog, you don't want that. He's got to stay focused. If a piece of paper or food or whatever it is on the ground, he's got to totally ignore it, but it comes through me establishing that. So I'm going to start walking around with him. So I'm walking. I'll tap him a little bit. I want his eyes up a little bit. Working through it, just walk around, smooth fluid, walk. And when I down him, I'll do it near some of the paper. Down. When he's down here, I'll tap again if he starts to look towards it. Give a little tap. See? Walking. Like I said, all sorts of paper scattered everywhere here. Kick it around. Oh, there I moved it a little bit. I'll knock it around, and you start to mess a little bit, but not again. When you ever do this, don't, and this is the problem with some people, you get so frustrated over something that you almost want to engage in some sort of challenge with the dog, because it's ego. Don't make it about an ego thing. Make it about what's reasonable relationally. It's about understanding, for example, people gave them that control to begin with, okay? They started not working against that to take control back. So it's built up over time. So it would be very unreasonable for me to think I'm just going to, get him out of that really fast. Because again, this is about doing it in a very consistent way that makes sense to the dog. And very indifferent about it, okay? I'm just like that, just own it. So when I say about ownership, or even how I use the leash as a moment, it's not defining a correction like almost like I'm going to correct the dog like a screaming at him. Relational influence, these moments are more like a little hey you, hey, reasonable conversation. Hey, I own that. What are you doing? I own it. So that's what a nudging, okay? Just nudging. It's language. So think of the language that you're speaking through the leash. It's very important. Okay? But it goes into this issue about understanding. Same thing, I'm watching as I'm doing this. I just don't want the same thing. I want his eyes up higher, because he'd be walking around, his head down, and he's like tracking. His eyes are moving around each piece of paper. So same thing, I'm going to expectation a little higher. I'm going to work hard to make sure his eyes are up here a little bit. And the way to do it, which I'm going to do now, if you're not really sure, do lots of sitting. Okay, that way he's sitting up, which I'm going to do here now. If I'm not sure about, I don't want him to get hooks in. Okay, so just do multiple sits. If it's something like this where I can't tell, motion could be a problem because his head's down lower and he could be looking at all the paper. I just want to get him amongst it here, because he knows it's there. Okay? He'd be like a drug addict that knows, I just threw a line of cocaine on the floor. They want to snort it up. Well, ain't going to happen. And that's because that's the same thing. It becomes control and power, becomes very fulfilling to the dog. It becomes like a drug. Same thing, moving forward. So this is just about working through it. And the point here is, again, because the other issue too is how you can tell, the level of control is, for example, if you're working the script, okay, you're working the method, and the dog is really coming in line really well, okay? And you have a certain level of relaxation, and the dog is going to the sit positions, the downs are happening, right? Then I fill this paper in. Okay, then it's like there's a different level of tension with the dog. The dog's into a challenge issue, because that's the thing. You just put down something that represents control to the dog. It's going to trigger that. So you'll notice right from how the dog's responding differently, okay, to the method. That's why I'll move to a pressure collar, because I have to get beyond that and then move to flat collar again once I have that established. So here it's just temporary. For example, the other issue too is moving. I could stick to a flat collar, but based on this, it's going to take me a lot longer. Okay, it could take me a very long time. Now this is where again, I got the tools. Always as a trainer, you need to move me under nothing. Flat collar, that's that way. Become the system. Understand how all these things connect differently. Then if you use something like a pressure collar, it takes on different meaning. Okay, I'm not investing. I won't be like, wow, I'm just going to keep using the pressure collar. No, I'm going to switch to the collar that works, that represents real change. Okay, so everything's a means to an end. So the same thing. So as I move, when he starts to really release this, I don't need this type of tool to get that sharper language. It's not like I'm screaming through it, but a little more of a hey, rather than Someone using a choke chain to crank and yank, that's like a scream, right? Hey, it's unreasonable, right? No, this is about investment, this is about a relationship. So we're working through it through the relationship. So think of it, I know a relational approach, it's about the relationship. It's about investment through me properly. It's not like I'm screaming at him that I don't want anything to do with him. This is about us working it out. And so therefore, that's why I say these will make more sense to the dog, because it's how these tools, what they promote, okay, the proper way. So same thing, moving forward. So all you do is work through this stuff until the dog starts to get more, release more control. And trust me, when you do this, it actually makes him feel good. It takes the stress load off him because he can't do it himself. I have to do it for him, okay? So this is not something where it's some sort of learning-based exercise. Don't do it that way. If I start giving him treats and stuff and start saying, oh, good boy, don't do that. Because again, you're dealing with motive, you're dealing with control issues, and through me. So no, this is about the motivation is the motivator is saying, no, it's reasonable, the influence that's online here to set up change, and how that connects to my personality type. So it makes sense to the dog, it makes sense to me. We're just working through this to say, I'm taking control of this, do this stuff, same thing. Down. See? So same thing, if I put him on the down, there's a piece of paper right there, he's looking at it, tap him out. I feel like I can't get him disconnected from it, or I just don't want to hover there and bring him up. Okay, so there's ways to go about movement, working the script so that you get the dog to disconnect. So again, this is a great video because you're seeing something, okay, working through a problem, control issue. You see me use the device differently than a flat collar, how I'm using it. Again, this is just temporary, so it goes to switch over. But again, the reason I talk about this about using the pressure collar, again, if you have a dog with a lot of control issues, and you're very powerful and stuff, this is the best tool to use because I can still create moments, okay? A pinch collar, it doesn't work well that way. It manifests different, okay, because of how that's designed, okay, with those prongs. Here, I can still communicate through this and still create slack, okay, because it's just like it's a moment ahead of the curve of the mind of the dog, then create the slack through it. But sometimes, you have to use a tool that's going to be effective for what you're doing. But again, not hover there on that tool. Always my goal is that's a means to an end. Hit the flat collar, then going off leash. Okay, so some control issues here I'm going to use it just because it makes more sense, and I need more control and be able to set up, better communication.